Okay, so here we are, Gems and Jams with Sonny Blaze, jewelry designer, and the legendary Rudy Sarzo. Yeah, and,
Gems and gems. Love
that's
that.
right. And we're going to talk a little bit about jewelry. We're going to talk about gear and music. Refresh. We talked about 6 Degrees of Sarzo, Monsters of Rock Radio last time. It's so cool. Please check out 6 Degrees of Sarzo. It's so awesome. And we talked about Coda, sonnyblaze.com, where you can check out some of the in-ear monitors that we're working on. A lot of the cool new stuff. Check that out. Ultimate Ears. And we've got some great new artists coming up, and I'm going to start posting a little more about the inner. Look at that. Black diamonds and 18-karat rose gold. No more plastic. No more plastic. We're going real deal now. So yeah,
bling, bling.
Yeah. So we're making an impact. This 2021 has been a splash, and so we're excited about that. This is really interesting because I grew up in the farm country. And I was really the only Latino kid. Later on, in my last couple of years of high school, my cousin had moved to our town, so she was the other Latina in my school. I grew up with all Anglo kids, all white kids, and so for me, I was pretty oblivious to the whole racism thing for a long time. And also I was among my peers, all the long hair guys. I had long hair. I was among all the rockers. And so any criticism or prejudice or whatever that I may have experienced was a lot to do with me wearing a leather jacket in a farm country rather than any kind of, did you, growing up and into your career, I mean, did you even notice? I was kind of oblivious to it myself until I was much older, but did you notice any people looking at you like, oh, you're an immigrant or whatever? Was any bit of that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I have experienced more prejudice than let's say racism.
Yeah.
And I'm going to separate them.
Yeah.
Prejudice is like prejudging,
Yes.
and people prejudge based on ignorance.
You're right.
Because you're going to judge, if you're judging what you have no information about, you're being ignorant in your prejudgment because it's not founded on facts.
Right.
It's founded on a perception that most likely is wrong because you don't have enough information to have a proper reference.
Right.
So it's
ignorance. Yeah.
It's ignorance, right? Okay. And it was really interesting, my experience. Okay. And I'm talking about an America or a United States 60 years ago. Because that's when I get this year commemorate 60 years of my family moving from Cuba to the United States.
Yeah.
And we came as refugees, which means that there was no plan B. Because
right.
as soon as we left Cuba, we lost our Cuban citizenship. It was revoked. As soon as it was automatic. As soon as you apply for refugee status in the United States,
right?
The Cuban government said, "Okay, you're not Cuban anymore," which meant that I was stateless.
That's a whole other kind of homeless.
Yes, it's like I have no, I don't exist.
I know that's.
If you're traveling, and this happened to me, I had this experience, and I wrote about it in the book. I was traveling with Ozzy in 1981. I didn't have a passport of any country. I had a re-entry permit with a sheet that said Rudy Sarzo is allowed to return to the United States.
Maximiliano Sarzo.
Yeah. And so what happens is when I arrived in Germany, which is, we flew in from the US and we landed in Germany, and it was 1981 in the middle of the hijackings that was going on, that were planes being overtaken by hijackers.
Yeah, that's right.
Cuba, to go to Cuba, whatever.
Yeah.
So I land in Hamburg, and there was these, I'm like the last guy in line from the band, walking through customs, and I present a little piece of paper, and the agent behind the desk starts yelling at me in German. There's soldiers with machine guns get behind him, pointing machine guns at me. I'm thinking they're going to send me back to Cuba. We become what we visualize. I mean, for example, in my case, okay, I was living in Cuba. While I was living in Cuba, where I was born, up until like almost 11 years old, everybody was Cuban. It doesn't matter where they came from. I always considered, it's Cuban. I didn't even think about them being Cuban. They're just human beings,
Right.
And that's it,
I thought everybody was farmers. I grew up in the farm country. So
yeah, exactly. And we'll listen to what is called now Cuban music, which to me was music. It's just music. You know? They're putting little categories, or put things in little boxes. Once I arrived in New Jersey, which was basically my first urban experience, Havana was pretty urbanized, but nothing to the extent of having, and this is 60 years ago, where there was not enough Latinos in New Jersey. Now West New York, which is where we settled, is basically a Cuban community there, because a lot of us eventually migrated there and settled. And what I found, and this is 1963, what I found was that I never experienced before, little neighborhoods. There were Irish neighborhoods, the Italian neighborhoods, Jewish neighborhoods, just about every cultural background, you could say, hey, that's a neighborhood right here. And yes, they coexisted, but they're not really commingled, especially in school.
Right.
Especially in school, And I was going to school, and I was one of the very few Latinos. And if there would have been another Latino there, most likely would have gotten there before I did. So he was like, I don't want to associate with this guy. He just got here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to assimilate with these other guys here, Then, so that's 63. And not until February 1964, the Big Bang of my universe happened, which is the Beatles playing on Ed Sullivan.
I was going to ask you about the Beatles, because that's a big milestone.
It was, I would say, the Big Bang. I mean, my world as I know it now, it started right there. I can say this second when, that moment that it's just, and I was living in Jersey, and the Beatles play Ed Sullivan across the river on the Hudson. So it wasn't that far away. You could feel the energy. It was a shift. It was like this, the axis just was thrown up, for our generation,
Absolutely.
And it launched thousands of bands and musicians, that certain Big Bang, And I got to tell you what it did the next day in school, because we all did this, not even being aware that we were doing this. The next day we comb our hair.
Comb your hair down.
Comb it down. We have pompadours. All of a sudden it's like we got bangs now. And then we went to school, and we looked at each other, and we go, means like pointing at the other kid who did the same thing. So now we're a tribe. Of different cultures, right? But what happens is now all of a sudden if you were into the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Animals and the Kinks and the Def Clark Five, whoever happened to go through the Ed Sullivan Show every week, now all of a sudden you had something in common. Wow. Now you were hanging with the Italian kids and the Polish kids and the Jewish kids, whoever was in the neighborhood. Now you had a band. Now you're teaching each other chords. Now and most important, you're getting to know about each other, the fact that we're all the same.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
What an amazing equalizer, right?
Oh my God. I mean, that if you look at the consciousness, as our generation's consciousness from the 60s, what it created, completely different than any other generation in the last century. Completely different, you know.
Hermano, you have been fantastic. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Next time we chat, I'm sure we got a lot more to talk about, but man, I thank you again for taking the time. I want to say again, catch the Guess Who when you get a chance. Check out 6 Degrees of Sarzo and to listen in to get some of the inside scoop. Check out sonnyblaze.com. sonnyblaze.com for new things going on with guitar string rings like I have right now.
Wow. Beautiful.
Or boom.
Wow.
Or
wow, boom.
Coda on sonnyblaze.com. We're partnering with Ultimate Ears to do the in-ear monitors with detachable, beautiful face plates. And so definitely let's, we'll keep you posted on everything that's going on, and gems and jams. We're going to keep getting some people together as we get other artists online, but it's always a pleasure chat with my hermano, el mero mero Rudy Sarzo. Thanks a lot, Rudy.
Gracias,
Sonny Blaze,
bendiciones.
and we're out. Take care.
God bless you. Bye-bye.